All right, so I want to talk about ethics, AI, and market research as advertised. So I picture the world moving basically like this. We start in the present, and we make decisions, and those decisions inform $75 trillion worth of actions every year, and that brings us to the future. We as market researchers, which I think is at least some majority of us-ish, we think of ourselves as sitting here, which is that we are an important component that determines how the decisions that get made in every one of these cycles on planet Earth actually happens. What is the goal that people doing market research set out to accomplish? And I think there's really two of those. The first one of these looks something like this. We say that we're going to take in a population, and we're going to take in a target behavior that we want to achieve, and we are going to tell you what the decisions you should make are, or what the actions are that you should take that are going to achieve some target behavior. There's another school of thought, another group of people that zoom in a little bit more. And they would think of market research as not being about telling you the decisions to make, but instead being about taking in that same population and now the research questions about that population and simply giving you the truth about those questions in that population so that someone else can go ahead and make those decisions. How do we actually learn about people? We can really think of it in two ways. So the first way is we can think about active conversation. So this is like I sit down and I talk with Megan, and through our conversation, I learn about what she's thinking and what she cares about. The other way that we learn about people is this way, and that's passive observation. In this case, it's not that I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to try and peep into whatever you're doing and learn about you purely through observing you without necessarily telling you that I'm doing so. What I want to do is I want us to think about the ethical risks associated with these different places in the spectrum of market research. Now, before we can think about what the ethical risks are, I want to choose a few ethical risks for us to consider that I think matter. The first one of these ethical risks is enablement of malicious intent. And what enablement of malicious intent means is that you've enabled a person to do a bad thing if they wanted to. So the second risk, this is the one that I think is most obvious, that is invasion of privacy. The third one of these I think is the most interesting and maybe the most nuanced, and this is the reduction of agency. Agency is the capacity of individuals to act independently and make free choices. The last risk is the catch-all. This is unpredictable secondary effects. So these are basically, the risk here is that bad shit can happen you couldn't even imagine. So I want to start with this one. So if you recall, this is going to be the place where the data we're talking about is conversational data. So it's us talking. And the goal is simply going to be to get to the truth. What are the risks? I might think of them like this. So enablement of malicious intent. I think this could allow people to do some bad things. How much? Not the most amount of bad things, but definitely not the least amount of bad things, so I'll give it 2 knives. Invasion of privacy, a little bit. If I found out that I had just had a conversation and it was an AI who just had a conversation to extract things from me, that would feel like a little invading of my privacy, so I'll give it 2 eyeballs. Reduction of agency, not so much. It's not trying to change how you act or behave. It's just trying to learn, so not a big risk here. Unpredictable secondary effects. Feel like if you have a thing that looks and talks and acts like a human, there's just some risks. I don't know how to talk about them, but they feel like they're there, so we'll give it 2 pills. Consider the place where the data we're going to use is, again, this conversation data, but our goal is different. In this case, our goal is let's induce a behavior. This enablement of malicious intent, it feels a little worse than just getting the truth out of you, so we'll give it another knife. Invasion of privacy, about the same. Reduction of agency, this is actually now reducing your agency. So if this exists and you're interacting with it, your decisions are no longer completely your own. They are now something that is influenced and steered by some outside thing. So we get a reduction of agency. Now it's only through conversation. You can only do so much damage, I think, in that way, but it's plenty. And unpredictable secondary effects, it feels like it's just a little bit more than if all you were trying to do is get to the truth. So let's move on to the world of observational data, where our goal is just to get to the truth. So ethical risks. enablement of malicious intent. This feels super 1984, so I'm going to give it like 3 knives. Could be worse, but not by a lot. Invasion of privacy, I feel like this is like the textbook definition of invasion of privacy, so 8 eyeballs. Reduction of agency, maybe a little bit. If you know you're being watched or if like that's going on, that's going to change your behavior some. Certainly enough that is worth putting some chains up for. And some unpredictable side effects because a society that's under the watchful eye of Big Brother is not quite sure how it would react. So there might be some weird side effects of it. This is where our data is observational data, and our goal is to induce behavior. I think maximum number of knives, give that system to a person who wants to do bad stuff. I think they could do really bad stuff very quickly. Still invasion of my privacy because you're looking at all of the same data that you were before. Reduction of agency, this is quite literally like an agency reducing machine. It is a machine to get you to make a specific set of decisions that you would not normally make yourself because of some type of outside influence. And all of that together feels like there's all kinds of dangerous side effects that I might not be able to predict, which I think put the ethical risks here extremely high. The thing I'll suggest is maybe the important conversations that I think should probably take place around this. So the first one of these, if we're in the world of the goal of inducing behavior is it healthy? So if I think for myself, if there was a machine that was really, really good at getting me to eat healthy every day and work out a little bit more, I actually think that would be sweet. So the important question here, I think, is the behavior being induced healthy? That is the key ethical lever. When it comes to observation, I think this one is, again, pretty obvious. Consent. Maybe the last one over here is, if we're going to talk about the goal of truth, I think in market research, we have to actually ask what that means. It can mean many things. It can mean the truth for the people I surveyed, the truth for the population you actually wanted me to survey, the results that were true but leaving out the ones that were true but don't support my thing that I want to get done. So there's a lot of different flavors with this that I think we still as an industry have not really unpacked, that I think we should probably unpack a little bit more. If we take heed of the risks that are out there and try to do our best to mess up as little as possible, I think it'll be good. If we ignore it and try to optimize purely for profit, then I suspect it may not be nearly as good as it could be. So with that, I'll end, and I think I will hand this over to you.
I think so. Thank you.